So I want to talk about the slow erosion that happens through compromise and concession, right? So if you allow something small every so often, right, it adds up rather quickly, right? Like a mouse nibbling away at cheese, one little bite at a time. So that's something we need to be aware of because it compounds quite quickly over a few generations, right? The place that the world, or at least America, was in 30 years ago when I was born is drastically different than the state of America today, right? That's just a fact. I mean, there's been a lot of wild stuff going on basically throughout the whole history, but insofar as the direction that it's heading today, it's a really scary thing. And it's all been nibbled away at over the years, over the decades, over the century and a half almost that it's been in existence. Now, there was a pivotal shift that America went through, right? Because it was a nation of expansion, right? It constantly grew. And then eventually it took over the entire center of the continent and it wasn't able to expand anymore. But it kind of could, you know? It started sticking out its tendrils all over the world, and it's done so quite successfully, right? But now it's gotten to the point where we don't offer as much, right? Because other nations are catching up, right? There was a lot of devastation after World War II, right? Throughout plenty of places in the world, right? And America kind of took full advantage that there wasn't any type of conflict on our continent, you know? Now, obviously, there was the whole Cold War and all that fun, but there's been proxy wars and conflicts going on all the time. There's like, what, seven or nine going on right now? But that's what it's become, you know? They're robbing us blind through all of this. And it's all fictional, the currency and all this fun. But as a people, you'd think that we would be a little bit more upset by this, or at least trying to do something about it. But you see, everybody's in a state of lethargy. We are in a state of hypnosis, right? 20% of the population falls into hypnosis relatively easily, right? And what do you do after a long day? You sit down in front of the TV and you eat dinner, and then you're just tired and you're zoned out and you're doing whatever. And that is when the majority of people used to watch the news and all of these other lineups, right? Prime time for hypnosis and programming, right? So little by little, things change, things shift. And by the time it's all said and done, you don't have anything that's anywhere recognizable, right? Now, there are certain ideals that America as a nation is supposed to embody, right? It is supposed to be freedom and liberty and justice for all. And some could say that we've never met up to that expectation, right? And justifiably so. And we definitely don't now. That's the more important thing because this is our time. Like we can't change the past, right? But we are Americans and we espouse an ideology, right? At least we're supposed to. And it's a damn fine one. People want to criticize it because we're hypocrites, but isn't everybody hypocrite? Why wouldn't a nation be, right? Now, there's definitely people who are at fault for this more than others, historically speaking and currently. And I think that there needs to be a little bit of sorting that out in order for things to move forward. in order for our species to move forward, right? Because, right, the people have funded the majority of the stuff, right? The massive government investments and all of these corporations, and then somehow the corporations own the patents and have all the rights to it. It's all sorts of fun. But a lot of people are making a lot of money on government contracts. You could see this just with Afghanistan alone, right? Billions of dollars were spent on just the air conditioning, right? And yeah, whatever. It ain't no thing. Like, people aren't up at arms about it, and now you just have all this mass printing. So basically, all the money that we've been working for and all the money that people are earning is it's depreciating by the day. You can see that because you can buy less and less. Let's not even get into this whole shutdown of everything, right? See, but bringing everything down, breaking it down, disrupting, taking away comfort, that is important for breaking the will of the people, right? Now, everybody wants to demonize Mao and Stalin, and justifiably. They did atrocious things to their population in the sake of a deranged ideology. But they both did successfully take uh, a peasantry of farmers and turn them into industrialized nations. And that is quite the task to not have it uh, evolve in society naturally like it did with a lot of the European powers and in America, right? It was forced in Russia and it was forced in China. And obviously, there were a lot of casualties, but they were successful in forcing their population to completely turn and go in a different direction. But it couldn't happen without breaking them and then rebuilding them and all that fun. So if you're going to usher in a new ideology, unfortunately, things usually get unpleasant. And this seems to be what is happening, right? When you see all of the crazy indoctrination, wokeness, and just the overall nutcases with a socialist utopia, right? Like, they want to demonize capitalism, but we don't have a capitalistic society in that regard because the government is directly involved in funding corporations and individuals and giving them extensive breaks and all this other fun. Right? You don't have that in a solely capitalistic. Now, a lot of people could argue that, dispute however the hell you want. But the government's in cahoots with corporations or it's owned by corporations. And, it's just a whole intermingled mess. And now some might say they have nefarious designs. Other people might say it's a bunch of people who think they're doing the right thing or whatever. But I think we know the whole thing is you're supposed to live in megacities and they can fly private jets and have oceanfront property. They want to tax every mile you drive. They want you to have a passport in order to be able to go wherever you want to go, including the stores and all this other fun. Apparently, it's not in the stores. Not yet. I remember the increments, the little nibbles, and eventually the whole thing's gone. Yeah, that's basically what they're doing, right? They're demonizing the people who wrote the Constitution, the ideology of our nation, right? And they demonize the author so they can demonize the text, so they can demonize any who would try to fight to defend it. You don't just start off with, hey, that guy's a piece of shit. No, you gotta tear him down in every aspect, in every regard, try and bring it through. Why do you think that all of the intelligence agencies and all of that are trying to look at homegrown, uh, you know, terrorists, the nationalists and white supremacists and extremists and whatever else? They want to, I don't know, start using all these agencies and turning in on their own people while ushering in mass amounts of illegal immigrants and legal immigrants, I guess, from places that are military industrial complexes ravaged and raped and all this other fun. You know, it's it's almost so bad that it has to be intentional. Like at what point do you just like, all right, is this a joke? Like we are obviously the brunt of a horrendous joke, right? It's like what is the absolute worst things that you could do for the country? Well, it may be looking like you're trying to do what's right, you know, and really play to the emotions instead of just the logic. Ah, well, we are emotional creatures, which leads us to, well, I mean, that does sound reasonable. It's only just a little bit. It's only just a nibble. I mean, he's hungry. He's got to have a nibble, right? Like, you understand that you get charged tax when you make money, and then you get charged another tax when you spend the money, right? And then if you want to buy something and give it to someone else, they might have to pay taxes on what that is. Like if you die, you try to give someone your house, talking about a 61% inheritance tax. So imagine you have a house that's worth $200,000 and you're dying and you want to leave it to your daughter. 60%? Yeah, she's got to come up with 120 grand to keep a $200,000 house. It's deplorable. But they're trying to break us, usher in a new society, usher in a new order. The Great Reset, right? Build back better. Who destroyed it? You know? Yeah. Either way, wish you the best of luck. We have more in common with each other than those that want us to fight.